Hi, I'm Rashonda. I'm the creator of this YouTube channel as well as the artbyro.com website where you can find over 250 art and drawing tutorials. So be sure to check that out, but of course, watch this video first, which is going to be how to draw Christmas holly leaves. This is a lot of fun. It's a good time of year to draw it just in time for Christmas. So let's go ahead and go on over to the art studio and get started on that tutorial. Today I'm going to be drawing a holly, a little bunch of holly with some berries in it. So hopefully you feel inspired by this drawing and want to make your own, or maybe even you'll draw along with me. So let's go ahead and get started by drawing the berries. So I'm going to do the berries somewhere near the center of my paper. And of course those are just going to be a cluster of circles. And you could do more if you wanted to. Maybe do 4 or 5. I'm just going to do 3 for the sake of keeping things simple today. So the berries are going to be kind of the center point of the holly leaves. And you can clean it up a little bit as you go. If you need to erase, get your eraser. I love these little click erasers, are nice for getting in there and cleaning things up a little bit. So now we want to draw some guidelines, and I'm going to do 3 individual leaves, and we're going to start by drawing the center of the leaf, and these can come from anywhere in here. They don't have to be in a certain point, like in reference to where the berries are at or anything like that. And you can draw them straight or you can draw them curved. So a lot of what you draw is going to just be personal preference. A lot of art is just opinion of what you think looks good and what doesn't look good. Everybody has a different idea for what they like as far as how the art goes and what looks good and what doesn't look good. So you should do whatever you think feels right to you. So I'm going to make mine a little bit curved. And then the next thing you want to do is to draw the outside edges of the leaf. What you could do before that, if you wanted to, you could make the general shape of the outside of the leaves. They're going to be a little bit like a triangular shape. You want it to be a little bit wider at the bottom than the top. So if it's easier to kind of make that sort of a guide, then you can do that. And then what we want to do is start by coming out from the top, and we want to make these little kind of scalloped areas of the leaf where they curve in and they kind of come to a point. And then keep those fairly symmetrical if you can. And then just follow that along. And then again, you can clean it up as you go, make some adjustments. And then you can bring these out a little bit further if you want. So there's almost like a little bit of a line at the end of it. Sometimes that looks a little bit better. So just go back over it again and extend it out just a little bit more. And then we want these inside little veins to go to where the points come out. So I'm going to fix this one over here to make it a little bit more symmetrical. So just clean it up as you go, make some changes. Sometimes it gets a little tricky if you have, we're down here where the berries come up a little bit higher. So you might have to play around with it a little bit, balance out between the details that you can see and what's going to be hidden. Make the changes as you feel necessary. And that's why we draw with pencil, right? Is so we can make those adjustments as needed. So do the same thing for the next one. And you can make that little bit of a guide ahead of time if you want to, or try doing it without. And then make those little extra points at the end. And then clean it up a little bit. I want this to be a little bit wider, maybe come over and connect to that one. So if part of it's covered, you would still want to put the little vein part coming out. Even though it's this point you can see and the point over here is hidden, we can still, if the vein fits in there, we'll make that coming out. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for this last one. And then do the same thing coming down. Now you can play around with how wide you want them to be. Maybe you want, this one might look a little bit thin. Maybe make that a little bit wider. Because you want your overall composition to look good too. And you could always add more berries if where the leaves come in, if it looks a little odd. If you don't like how those connect, maybe we could add another berry here. Erase that. So just kind of play around with it a little bit. You can add some things as needed to balance everything out. And then, of course, we're going to draw the veins coming out. I think this one, make that one a little bit wider at the bottom. I don't like how this one looks. So then the next thing we can do is to use our outlining pen. And this is just a Sharpie pen. And then go ahead and go over those pencil lines. Make an outline. You could do this in green. I usually do mine in black. And just go over everything. And then once this is all outlined, then we can use just a regular block eraser. I have this one. You can use one of those pink erasers. And then we'll go ahead and clean up the pencil lines. and add some color to this. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up, and I'll be back after I have the outline done, and I'm going to go ahead and clean up those pencil lines, and then I'll be right back with you. Right, so I'll start with the berries, and I have two different markers. So what I have is a lighter red and then a darker red. So what I like to do is fill in with the lightest color first, and then go over top of that and darken up some areas to, it just adds a little bit of depth to your drawing so it's not quite as flat looking. Just kind of add some of the darker in there, and then where the two come together, just go back over top of that and soften that up a little bit. And then do the same thing for the rest of the berries. Just filling in with the lighter color. And then we'll take this darker color, just add a little bit of shadowed area down there. And you could also use a colorless blender to blend these. I like just using the lighter color. Does the same thing. And then we will do the same thing for the leaves. So what I do when I choose my colors is I just use these little scrap pieces of cardstock, and that way I can test them out ahead of time and see which colors go together, or which markers go together. So I'm going to do the same thing with the leaves. I'm going to fill this in with the lighter green and then go back over with the darker green. When blending your markers, you do want to make sure that the markers are still wet so that you can get a nice smooth transition between the two. And you could use three. You could use a light, a mid-tone, and a dark. So I usually like to use at least two for my drawings. And sometimes I'll use three or more depending on the size of the drawing. And also it's going to depend on what markers you have available to you. If you don't have a big supply of markers, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get your colors blending nicely. You might have a little bit of a harsher edge to it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the dark along the edge of the veins. Kind of feather them out a little bit. And then I'll do the same thing like I did with the red and come back over just the edges with the lighter color and soften that up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up while I finish the rest of it, and I'll be back when that's done. So the last thing I want to do is add a little bit of white, and I use these white jelly roll pens. You can just add just a few little highlights, I like to break up the big blocks of color a little bit. And you can leave this part off if you want. We're just picking a few little spots. Adding a little bit of white to it. And then the last thing, also an optional step, I like to add a little bit of color to the outside edges of my drawings. Just kind of takes it to the next level a little bit. I just go right along the outside edge. I love this blue color. This is usually the one I use for my outside edge. You could pick a different color. You could do a little bit of a scene in the background. You could make a wreath or part of a wreath if you wanted to. That would be kind of cool. Maybe have it going off the edge of the paper. But I think adding that little bit of color to it, it kind of just makes it stand out a little bit, takes it to the next level. So that's it for this drawing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you feel inspired to do some of your own drawings. And I will see you in the next video. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you followed along, or at least you feel inspired to do some of your own artwork. Don't forget to check out that description box. There's some freebies in there for you. And also, please give it a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to get notified of future videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!